I am often asked, what is the ideal question to ask during a panel discussion? And well, the answer is, it depends. My name is Kristin Arnold, and I'm a master facilitator and a leading authority in moderating panel discussions. And I gotta tell you, I hate to say it, but the answer to that, what is the ideal, perfect question to ask during a panel discussion, is it depends. Let's find out why. Depends is just such a horrible answer. I get it. I wish I could give you a more definitive answer about what is the ideal question to ask during a panel discussion. But what I can do is share several nuances that you might want to consider, as well as a model that will help you identify the ideal questions to ask during your panel discussion. So let's dive right in. So what is the ideal question to ask? So I'm going to speak about this very strategically because there are so many different kinds of panels and panel topics and flavors that it's hard to answer that question. So I'm going to answer it from a very strategic perspective, is that it really needs to meet all three of these criteria, not just two, not just one, but all three of these factors or criteria. First factor is that it has to address the focus of the topic as presented in the promotional material. So go look at what's being promised to the audience, which might be a tad bit different than what you heard interpreted from the meeting organizer and or the panelists. Your ground truth is to serve the audience, find out what the audience has been promised in the promotional materials first. It has to meet that promise, that it's going to advance that promise. Okay, so that's nuance number one. Nuance number two is, what does the audience need or want to know? Now, those are two different things, want and need, but let's focus first on it's about the audience. Like, you are having this panel discussion for the benefit of the audience, that the audience gets your deep insights, that they lean into that spontaneous conversation, and they walk away with tangible takeaways that make their life easier, better, more robust. It's just better. You leave them in a better place than when they walked into that panel. So you have to ask yourself, what question does the audience want to have answered? And what questions do they need to have answered? And that might help you triage as to what the ideal question is. I find panelists often will suggest questions that they want the audience to hear, not what the audience wants to hear about. A little bit of a different take on it. But what does the audience need or want to know? Nuance number three, which is, what is your meeting organizer, your meeting champion, whoever has asked you to moderate this panel, what did they want the audience to think, do, or feel as a result of this panel? I mean, after all, they're the ones who are signing the check. They're the economic buyer for all of this event. They should have a say in it, and maybe what they're saying is aligned with what the topic is promoted to be, but oftentimes there's a couple of objectives that a meeting organizer might have that go beyond what's just printed in the promotional materials. So you might want to just probe and ask, okay, so what do you want people to walk away with? Like, at the end of the day, what's the end result? What's the objective? What's the deliverable? What do you hope that they think, do, or feel? Are we just informing them? Are we persuading them? Are we trying to influence them? What are we trying to do here? Now, another piece of objective setting, there's actually three different ways to look at objectives that I like to look at as a meeting facilitator, is yes, you want to get the results that you've been promoting, but also, is there a process that meeting organizer has in mind? And there are a lot of different factors that you might want to consider, but just to name a few is from an audience engagement style. Do they want lots of audience engagement or none at all? Somewhere in between. Is it more formal or is it more laid back? Is it more presentation? Is it more conversational? Is it get a sense for what the meeting organizer wants from a process point of view? Is it a very traditional type of panel, or is there room for a lot of creativity and innovation in that panel design? Those are things that you want to know so that you can help craft the ideal question. The last piece of objective setting for meeting organizers is, what about the relationship? The relationships in the room. Does everybody know each other? They're collegial, or are they all coming from different places? They don't know each other. Is one of the objectives that they connect better with each other? Well, if they need to connect better with each other in the audience, I might be thinking that a question might be directed to the audience to turn to their neighbor or shout out, or what's the burning question that you have for the panelists? I will create a different ideal question based on what the meeting organizer wants to see from a results point of view, a process point of view, and a relationship point of view. So you think about these three nuances, these three criteria about topic, about audience, and about the meeting organizer, and think of it like a Venn diagram. That middle spot where all of those circles intersect, that is your sweet spot. And that is your ideal question. When it hits all three of these criteria, that is an awesome question to ask during your panel discussion. Now, I'm just curious. What do you think of this Venn diagram? Does it make sense to you? Does it resonate with you? Do you agree with my supposition, my hypothesis that it has to hit all three? Just curious, your comments, your thoughts, please write in the notes section below. And while you're there, if you don't mind liking this video and even subscribing to the channel, that would be awesome, and I thank you. So as a panel moderator, you have probably developed a list of questions that the meeting organizer has suggested, questions that your fellow panelists have submitted, questions that you've gathered in your own research about the topic and the panelists and the audience, and you've developed this long list. You can pull that list down by asking yourself for each of those questions, does it hit the trifecta? Does it hit the sweet spot? Does it meet the questions? Does it advance the topic? Does it meet the needs and the wants of the audience? And does it serve the meeting organizer? I hope that this was helpful. And if you want more information about how to moderate a panel, I invite you to our free 7-part video series on how to moderate a panel, which, guess what? You can find it at www.howtomoderateapanel.com. Thanks for watching.